Okay, let's make a start. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this session for Pension Awareness Week 2025. My name is Rebecca O'Shea, and I work for Oxfordshire Pension Fund. I'm doing this presentation on behalf of Clwyd, Shropshire, and Oxfordshire Pension Funds. So I expect we have people from all three of those on the call today. This session is called Types of Retirement in the LGPS. And we hope this session will help to demystify all the different types of retirement available in the LGPS, whether it's early, flexible, ill health, etc. We'll take a look at all of those today. A little bit of housekeeping first. All your cameras and microphones are turned off. So please, if you want to ask any questions, please pop them in the Q&A facility. Any questions that we don't answer in the course of the presentation today will be answered in an FAQ document, which will be made available to you all after the event. Please don't put any questions in the Q&A giving any information about your own personal circumstances or put any personal data items within your question. Anything of this type should go straight to your own pension fund, Clwyd, Shropshire or Oxfordshire. And the contact details for the three pension funds are at the end of the presentation. So you have to stay till the end. This presentation is being recorded and it will be available on your fund's video sharing platform after the end of Pension Awareness Week. We don't expect to keep you for the full 45 minutes. So we should finish a little earlier than that. But let's start with a little poll to see who we have here and what you know about the LGPS. So if we could start off, please can you indicate which LGPS fund you are currently a member of? I'll just give you a couple of moments to put that in. And when you submit that, you'll get another question. If you had to score your own LGPS knowledge right now, what score would you give yourself if 1 is very bad knowledge and 5 is very good knowledge? And your names won't be recorded on that. Okay, I'll just give you a second to finish doing that. Excellent. Okay. So let's make a start on the main content. Maybe the reason you're all here today is because you are thinking about the possibility of retiring at some point in the not too distant future. As a member of the LGPS, you can choose to retire at any time between age 55 and age 75. There are some things you need to consider first of all. Firstly, you need to have been in the scheme for at least 2 years to qualify for a pension. You must have left your job to receive your pension. And you must take your whole LGPS pension all at once. You can't take different sections of it earlier or later. And in the LGPS, no matter what Martin Lewis says, you have to take your cash and your pension at the same time. So those are the 3 basic rules. Now, there are 3 types of voluntary retirement on this slide. Voluntary retirement means when you, the member, choose when you want to retire. So firstly, in the first column, you can take your pension at what we call normal pension age. Normal pension age is your state pension age in the LGPS career average scheme. That's the point when you can leave your job and take your pension without any reduction for early payment. So that's normal pension age. But what if you want to retire a little earlier than your state pension age? That's where early retirement comes in the middle column. You can actually retire any time from age 55, which is changing to 57 in April 2028. But because we would be paying that pension for a longer period of time, your pension will be reduced for early payment. I'll be talking a little bit more about those reductions a little later on. And the third option on the slide, what happens if you want to or need to stay on at work a little bit longer? Well, that is absolutely fine. You can continue paying into the LGPS until your 75th birthday. And if you do so and retire after your state pension age, we will apply an increase to your pension, as we'll be paying it for a shorter time than expected. If you stay in the scheme and you reach age 75 as an active member, your pension is put straight into payment, even if you stay in employment. A bit more information about early retirement here for you. You remember I said that if you take early retirement, you'll be receiving your pension for longer, so it will be reduced for early payment. This table shows the reductions that will be applied to your pension and lump sum for each full year you retire before your normal pension age. The actual reduction made to your pension is based on the exact number of years and days that you take your pension early. You can see in the third column, automatic lump sum reduction. You will only have an automatic lump sum if you joined before the 1st of April 2008. If you were in the scheme before April 2014 and have final salary benefits, these can be paid without any reductions earlier than your care benefits, usually at age 65, rather than waiting until your state pension age. And some members on here today may have 85-year rule protection, which means that your pre-April 08 benefits can be paid earlier without reduction. Most of you may also have two different normal pension ages, and so two different percentage reductions will apply to different parts of your pension. It all sounds quite complicated, but you can run your own retirement projections and see the reductions that would apply to your pension by using the modeler on your fund's member portal or by requesting an estimate from your pension fund. Moving away now from the standard normal, early and late retirements, I'm now going to talk about a few other different types of retirement that are available to you in the LGPS. And I'm going to start with flexible retirement. So flexible retirement allows you to gradually shift from working life into retirement. The idea is that you take your pension, but you continue working on reduced hours or at a lower grade. In return, you have a start, you can start to slow the pace down a little, and your employer can retain your experience a bit longer before you take that full retirement. Your employer will have a published flexible retirement policy, and you can ask your HR team or your line manager to see it if this is something that you're interested in. They will tell you how much you have to reduce your hours or your pay, and under what circumstances your employer will or will not agree to flexible retirement. Flexible retirement can be taken from age 55 or 57 from April 2028. If you choose to take flexible retirement before your normal pension age, those early retirement reductions will make an appearance again. They're applied in the same way as in early retirement, so the earlier you take flexible retirement, the greater the reduction to your pension. If you qualify for the 85-year rule, this still applies. And finally, when you take your pension on flexible retirement, you can choose to continue to contribute to the LGPS in your reduced role and build up another separate pension to take when you fully retire. So what happens if you get made redundant? Being made redundant is rarely good news, but if you are a member of the LGPS and you are over age 55 or 57 from April 2028, it doesn't necessarily have to be all doom and gloom. Under the current rules, if you get made redundant over the age of 55, your LGPS pension related to that job will be paid immediately and unreduced for early payment. That means that the pension is payable from the day after your last day of service, and no early retirement reductions are applied. One thing to note about a redundancy pension is there is no option to defer payment or transfer your pension. The pension has to be paid on the day that you leave. Okay, moving on from redundancy, sorry. What happens if you find yourself in the unfortunate situation where you can't work due to ill health? There is a facility within the LGPS regulations to retire on ill health grounds. Your employer will arrange for an independent doctor to review your case, and this doctor will provide an opinion on whether you satisfy the following two requirements. Firstly, if you are permanently incapable of discharging efficiently the duties of employment that you currently have. In other words, can you do your current job? And secondly, that you are not immediately capable of undertaking gainful employment. And under the LGPS rules, gainful employment is defined as paid employment for 30 hours a week. Your employer will consider the opinion of the doctor and any other relevant evidence which you or your medical team may have provided, and will then determine whether you're entitled to an ill health pension. If you are awarded ill health retirement, your pension might be enhanced depending on how likely you are to get better in the near or the distant future. As I said, the employer makes the final decision on whether you qualify for ill health retirement, and they must notify you of their decision and the reasons. This slide gives quite a lot of information about what that letter must contain, which I'm not going to go into detail on now, but you can review this page afterwards if you think this applies to you. So we've established that your employer decides if you qualify for ill health retirement. They will also then decide which tier of ill health you qualify for. There are 3 tiers of ill health retirement in the LGPS, and the different tiers are designed for different situations, taking into account how severe or life-limiting your condition is and how likely you are to ever be able to return to work. So tier 1 on the left-hand side is for members who are unlikely to be able to work in gainful employment ever again. If you are awarded tier 1, we add an enhancement to your pension to fill the gap between the date you retire on ill health grounds and what would have been your normal pension age had you not been ill. Tier 2 is for members with a slightly more positive outlook who may be able to return to paid work before retirement. There's still an enhancement, but it is smaller to reflect the fact that we're likely to be paying this pension for longer. And finally, tier 3. Tier 3 is a stopgap pension paid at the current value as at retirement date for a maximum of 3 years. A bit more information about tier 3 on this slide. It is different from the first 2 tiers because it's a temporary award of pension and can only be paid for a maximum of 3 years, and it is reviewed during that period. The pension is stopped at the end of the 3-year period and will go back into payment again at normal pension age, unless you qualify for a different tier at review. So it's possible that when you're reviewed, maybe you'll be upgraded to tier 2, for example. So far, we've talked about ill health retirement as an active member, as I think most of you are active contributing members. The provisions of ill health retirement are slightly different if you're a deferred member, but they are still there. So if you leave your LGPS job and we are still looking after your pension for you, your pension could still be paid on ill health grounds. And if you satisfy the conditions, your deferred pension would be paid immediately without reduction for early payment, but without enhancement. And this slide just gives a comparison between what you get as an active member when you're still paying contributions and what you would get as a deferred member when you've left your LGPS job. Okay, moving away from ill health retirement now, let's turn our thoughts to the tax-free lump sum that you can receive on retirement. Whatever type of retirement you're taking, voluntary, flexible, redundancy, ill health, any of them, you are able to swap some of your pension for tax-free cash. Members who joined the LGPS before April 2008, have a portion of automatic lump sum, but everybody is able to take a lump sum by giving up some of their pension. You're not allowed to give up all of your pension for lump sum. You can generally take about 25% of the value of your pension as cash. If your pension is really very small, you may be allowed to give it all up, but this is only permitted under very specific circumstances. You'd need to ask your pension fund for more information on this. So under normal circumstances, for every £1 of yearly pension you give up, you get £12 of extra tax-free cash. You can scan the QR code on this slide to visit the lump sum calculator on the National Member website, and there's loads and loads of useful information on that website as well. But your standard and maximum lump sum figures will be given to you by your pension fund as part of your retirement pack, and you can choose whether you want to take maximum or minimum cash or somewhere in between. Obviously, you don't have to stay in the scheme until you retire, so we are just going to talk very briefly about what happens if you find a new job, either before or after the age of 55. Depending on your age when you leave the scheme, there are 3 options. Firstly, if you have under 2 years service, you can get a refund of contributions. Secondly, if you have over 2 years service, you get deferred benefits, which we will look after in the pension scheme and which will then become payable at normal pension age. Or you can transfer out to another pension scheme, but you have to do this at least 12 months before your normal pension age. And if that new pension scheme or your new employer is an LGPS employer, you can combine your pension benefits with your new LGPS pension account in the same fund or in a new one. If you're thinking of leaving and would like to learn more about what happens when you leave the LGPS, there is a session where we will go into this in quite a lot more detail. It's called Leaving the LGPS, and it's taking place tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. So you need to go back and register for that session if you want to learn more about it. Okay, so this is my final slide. Thank you all very much for coming along to this talk. The last slide gives details of the National LGPS members website, which is really packed with FAQs, calculators, lots of information videos and loads more, all suitable for pension beginners. Also on this slide, you'll find the contact details for Clwyd, Oxfordshire and Shropshire pension funds. Thank you to anyone who submitted a question. As I said, if your question hasn't been covered today, the answers to your questions and the videos of the presentation will be available on your fund website next week. And finally, I hope this presentation has helped your understanding of your LGPS pension a little bit. We're going to do a final poll to let us know if you now had to score your own LGPS knowledge, having attended the webinar, what would you give yourself now if you were 1 was very bad and 5 was very good? And finally, would you recommend these webinars to your colleagues? Thank you very much, everybody. I hope to see you on another webinar later in the week.